The first time I met my son's fiancée, she smiled like someone who'd practiced in the mirror and never quite got it right. I'm Thomas Grant, retired US Army. 25 years in military intelligence, most of it tied to East Asia. Translation, cultural analysis, the kind of listening that doesn't just hear words, but measures intent. These days I live quietly outside Columbus, Ohio, in a brick house with a stubborn fireplace, 3 fishing rods by the back door, and my late wife's wind chimes still catching the smallest breeze. My son Daniel is 30, good kid, sharp, mind, big heart, the kind that believes in giving people the best version of themselves until they prove otherwise. After his mother passed 3 years ago, he poured himself into work and eventually into online dating. That's where he met her. She introduced herself as Lena Jo, petite, sharp cheekbones, salon-polished nails, and a handbag that looked more expensive than the shoes it didn't match. She moved like someone who expected to be admired. Daniel was enchanted. I was observant. Love makes sons proud, and pride brings them home to share it. He asked if I'd host dinner for Lena and her parents. I said yes. I always say yes to anything that helps me keep my son close. I cooked honey-glazed salmon, garlic asparagus, mushroom pilaf, and a pot of clean, grassy green tea. I used the good plates. Presentation matters when you're meeting someone who thinks presentation is the whole show. They arrived at 7. Lena stepped over the threshold, looked around my living room, family photos, a folded flag, her would-be future, then said, "Oh, it's charming." Not warm, not sincere, a performance that lands just short. Her parents followed with stiff smiles and formal handshakes, the kind of etiquette you learn from a manual, not a childhood. I noticed the hint of paper tags tucked inside their collars. Small things talk if you let them. We sat, ate. They complimented nothing specific. Instead, there was rehearsed small talk. Daniel's job, wedding timing, vague plans about bringing families together. Their English was careful, tidy, unnatural around the edges. The room felt like a stage where everyone knew their lines except me. Halfway through dinner, Lena leaned toward her parents and lowered her voice. She switched languages, Chinese, and she said things she believed no one at the table could understand. I won't repeat any of it in her language. You don't need the words themselves, only what they meant. I was old, pathetic, and useful. Daniel was gullible. Her plan was simple: marry, get the documents, leave within the year. Her parents encouraged patience. Keep the act going. Don't blow the cover. They sipped my tea and enjoyed their private little theater. Daniel watched them fondly, unaware he was sitting next to a fuse. I set my cup down and let the quiet harden. Then I cleared my throat and, in the same calm voice I've used in briefing rooms and border checkpoints, I said, in English, "Would you like more tea?" And for the record, I understood every word you just said. Silence came fast, like someone had pulled the oxygen from the room. Lena paled. Her parents went statue still. Daniel looked from them to me, confusion opening in his face. I looked back at all 3 with the expression that means the first shot has already been fired. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from. Because this story only gets colder from here. For a long second, no one breathed. It was the kind of silence you only hear right before truth drags the mask off a liar's face. Lena blinked fast, shock first, then calculation. She didn't apologize, didn't show shame. She adjusted, a chameleon in heels. "Thomas," she finally said with a forced laugh, "you must have misunderstood. Maybe you misheard. Chinese can sound harsh to English speakers. A textbook deflection. Not innocence. Damage control. I didn't raise my voice. I never do. No misunderstanding. You insulted me and you revealed your plan. I heard every word clearly." Her mother leaned forward, eyes wide and wounded like she deserved a sympathy badge. "Please," she said, Softly. "No one would ever," her father cut in. "You are confused. You hear wrong. It's tone issue." Tone issue, right. I'd heard that excuse in embassies, interrogations, diplomatic debriefings. It's what people say when they're caught, and they hope language can be the escape hatch. Daniel looked like someone had yanked the floor out from under him. His fork was still half raised, stuck in mid-air, like time forgot him. "Lena, what did you say?" His voice cracked with disbelief, not accusation. A man wanting to believe love over evidence. She instantly moved to him, touching his arm with manufactured tenderness. "Baby, your dad clearly misunderstood," I interrupted. "Don't call him baby while you're lying to him." Her eyes flashed. For a moment the softness dropped and the steel underneath showed. "I don't know why you're attacking me," she snapped. "You barely know me." "And yet," I replied calmly, "you felt comfortable mocking me in my own home and plotting to use my son." She stiffened. "A snake cornered will try to look like a dove if the shed skin isn't ready yet." "Daniel," she said urgently, voice trembling on cue, "this is happening because he never liked me." I set my napkin down, slow and deliberate. "I don't dislike you. I simply don't tolerate deception." Daniel rubbed his forehead, voice strained. "Dad." Maybe she misspoke. Maybe she meant something else. There it was. Hope trying to outrun reality. I didn't push him. "Love blinds more effectively than lies, son," I said quietly. She was very clear. Lena pulled her chair back sharply, a little too loud. "We should go. I won't stay where I'm insulted." Her parents nodded like synchronized puppets. They stood quickly, avoiding my eyes. Guilty people rarely hold contact. They stare only when they think they're in control. At the door, Lena tossed a final line over her shoulder, soft but pointed. "You'll regret embarrassing me." I met her stare without blinking. "No, you'll regret underestimating me." The door slammed, rattling the picture frames on my hallway wall. My wife's wind chimes on the porch clinked like a quiet warning. Daniel stayed sitting, hands clasped, breathing shallow. "Dad, I don't know what to believe." "You'll figure it out," I said gently. "Truth doesn't need defending. It stands on its own." He nodded slowly, still lost, still trying to rearrange hope into reality. He left an hour later, no answers, just questions and the kind of silence a father hates hearing in his child's voice. When the door closed behind him, I exhaled, long and steady. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was activated. I'd spent decades studying deception. I knew how to follow a thread, tug gently, and watch the entire structure collapse. And Lena, she wasn't dealing with a suspicious father. She was dealing with a man who spent his life catching people just like her. She fired the first bullet. Now I was going to build the case. And next time we spoke, she wouldn't have anywhere to run. After Daniel left, the house felt too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. My wife's empty chair by the window caught my eye. If she were here, she'd have smiled sadly and said what she always did about liars. "You don't chase them, Tom. You watch them walk into the hole they dig." So I made a cup of tea, sat at my desk, and opened the drawer where my past life still lived. Encrypted drives, old contact notebooks, and one particular black leather folder labeled Personal Intel. Not because I expected trouble in retirement, but because trouble rarely announces itself politely. And Lena, she came in kicking the door. I started with the basics. Name she gave, background she claimed, university she supposedly attended. I cross-checked public records first. People forget how many traces they leave in the modern world. Lena Jo had gaps big enough to drive a convoy through. Employment history, too vague. Social media, too curated. Background, too clean, which is never clean at all. There's a pattern to manufactured identities. Anyone who's ever vetted personnel learns to smell the artificial polish. I took notes. Quiet, methodical. This wasn't anger. This was duty, protection. Next morning, I pulled out an external drive. not connected to the internet, never was. It held access to old, open-source surveillance tools I'd used during my last federal contract. I wasn't hacking. I was verifying. Her phone number traced through a VoIP trail common in cross-border visa groups. The email connected to an account that had been flagged once, an international student visa forum 2 years ago. Then I checked something casual. The engagement photos Daniel proudly emailed me weeks earlier. Smiling couple, flowers, soft lighting. I performed a reverse image search. Took 10 seconds, and there it was. The exact studio backdrop used in at least 5 other staged engagement sessions on a modeling portfolio site. Same archway, same drape, same lighting grid. My stomach didn't drop. It hardened. Pattern detected. I leaned back, breathing slow. Saw my reflection in the dark monitor. Older, yes, but sharper than I'd been in years. It reminded me of pre-mission nights. And calm before strategy becomes action. Just then, my phone buzzed. "Daniel, Dad," Lena texted. "She said you caused a misunderstanding and she needs space. She said, maybe we should postpone wedding talk." I kept my tone even. "And how do you feel about that?" "I don't know," he whispered. "I want to trust her. But I can't stop thinking about what you said." Good. Doubt wasn't weakness. It was sight returning. When we hung up, I made my next move. I still had an old DHS contact number saved. A man named Marcus Hill, now working immigration fraud cases. I didn't call. I sent one short-coded message. "Flag potential. Gather quietly." Old language between old colleagues. Then I poured myself another cup of tea, opened a fresh notebook, and wrote the first line of a new mission log. Identify motive. Expose deception. Protect my son. This wasn't about vengeance. This was about precision, so I kept digging. Not loud, not dramatic. Just steady. Lies don't fear noise. They fear documentation. And I had just started building the file. The thing about liars is simple. They don't panic right away. First they adjust the mask. Then they try to rewrite the scene so they still look like the hero. 2 days after that dinner, Daniel called. "Dad, Lena wants to talk to you. Just you and her. She says she wants peace." Peace. People don't ask for peace unless they suddenly realize the war already started without them. I agreed. Not because I wanted reconciliation, but because predators expose the most truth when they think they're regaining control. She showed up mid-afternoon wearing soft colors. A gentle smile and carrying a bakery box like sugar could wash away intent. A performance from the moment she stepped foot on my porch. "Mr. Grant," she breathed, "thank you for meeting with me. I want to clear the air." I motioned her to sit. Go ahead." She folded her hands neatly, the posture of someone who spent the morning rehearsing sincerity in a mirror. "There was a misunderstanding," she began. "I would never insult you." Chinese and English toned differently. "I was telling my parents how grateful I am." She delivered her script perfectly. I let her finish, then simply said, "Lena, you don't need to lie. You already showed me exactly who you are." Her smile stayed. But her eyes, they betrayed her. A tiny flicker of fear pushed behind politeness. "I love your son," she said quietly. "I want our families united." "Until your paperwork clears," I replied. That hit her like a pin to a balloon. The politeness cracked, only for a second, but I saw it. "I don't know why you'd think that," she whispered. "You told your parents." She shifted, tone sharpening. I was stressed. "People say things they don't mean." "No," I said. "People reveal truths when they think no one's listening. I spent 25 years reading intent. You weren't overwhelmed. You were plotting." The mask dropped completely. "I came today because Daniel asked me to," she snapped softly. "And because I don't want drama." Translation, she came to contain the threat. Then came the real her, cold, sharp, honest in the worst way. "If you ruin this for me," she murmured, "you will lose your son." I didn't flinch. "I don't lose my son. I protect him." She leaned in. "You can't prove anything." I almost smiled. "Proof exists long before liars realize anyone's collecting it." She went still. Breathing changed. Panic surfaced. Then she stood abruptly. "I hope Daniel sees what you're doing." "He will," I said. She left without another word, walking fast, shoulders stiff, pride cracking like thin ice. I didn't feel triumph. I felt clarity. She thought this was about emotion. No, this was strategy, and she had no idea who she was up against. The evening after Lena stormed out, I sat in my study with the door half open. The house was quiet, just the steady hum of the old grandfather clock. Retirement or not, I recognized that stillness, the calm right before intelligence threads snapped together. This wasn't anger. This wasn't ego. It was clarity. I dug where liars never expect anyone to dig. The boring places, records, public logs, immigration timelines, digital breadcrumbs. People hide secrets in shadows. But amateurs hide them in paperwork. By midnight a pattern formed. Her so-called parents, listed as cultural event actors online. Same faces, different outfits. Her overseas address? Connected to another marriage filing, not dissolved. Her visa timeline, suspiciously aligned with Daniel's behavior and paperwork, finally agreed she wasn't in love. She was running a script: love bomb, secure commitment, secure status, exit. I opened a new folder on my laptop, ZAY01, personal protection archive code name. Necessary purpose. I'd done this work before, but this time I wasn't safeguarding national intelligence. I was protecting my son. My phone buzzed. "Daniel again, Dad, she's crying. Says you intimidated her, crying." "Of course she was," I replied. "Let her. Tears don't erase intent," he didn't respond. Truth arrives slowly when the heart wants to believe a lie. The next morning, I drove to a small electronics shop run by a retired Navy signals tech. Bought a voice recorder disguised as a key fob. Legal, ethical, and necessary. Documenting harm isn't revenge. It's defense. That night, Daniel invited me to dinner. I came with a casserole and a recorder already running in my pocket. Lena greeted me all warmth and sweetness, a performance polished like theater. But fear smells sweeter than honey. When Daniel stepped away, she leaned in and whispered, "You won't ruin my life." I didn't flinch. "You ruined it yourself. I'm just recording the truth." Her smile vanished, and that tiny recorder quietly captured everything. She thought this was emotional warfare. It wasn't. It was evidence, and I'd just secured my first piece. There's a moment in every investigation when the story stops belonging to the liar and finally belongs to the truth. For me, that moment arrived 2 mornings later. I was on the porch with a mug of black coffee, watching frost pull back from the grass, when I heard tires crunch up my driveway. Daniel's car. He parked crooked, like his thoughts had arrived long before his body did. He got out slowly, same clothes as yesterday, eyes red, face pale. A man who had looked the truth in the eye and wished he hadn't. "Dad." His voice was thin, cracking at the edges. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside, and he walked in like someone entering a room where bad news waits with patience. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where his mother once braided his hair before school. He rubbed his face, took a long breath, and then the dam broke. "I didn't sleep last night," he murmured. I checked her laptop. I didn't rush him. "Silence is a surgeon. It cuts clean when you let it work." "There were messages," he continued, "to someone back home about playing the long game, enduring 1 year, about how stupid Americans are for trusting love." He swallowed hard. "She called me gullible. Said I love like a stray dog." Grief, not rage, coated his voice. "Grief weighs more." "You're not an idiot," I said softly. "Blind trust is foolish. Willing trust? That's bravery. It just hurts when the wrong person receives it." He stared at the table. "Why didn't she just break up with me?" "She wasn't here for you," I answered. "She was here for a passport." His jaw tightened. "I texted her. Told her I saw everything. She didn't reply." I nodded. "She will." Not to explain, to regain control. Right on cue, his phone buzzed. He flinched. He read the message aloud. "Daniel, I need space. You hurt me with your suspicion. I'll reach out when emotions settle, not denial, not remorse. Just a clean attempt to shift blame." He looked at me, voice hollow. "She's not even trying to deny it." "She can't," I said. There's no lie strong enough to rebuild trust that never existed. He exhaled slowly, like a man finally allowing himself to feel the wound instead of pretending it wasn't there. "What do I do now?" he whispered. "You let her go," I said, "and you watch her reveal exactly who she is. Not revenge. Not punishment, just truth doing its work." He stood eventually, eyes still red, but clearer. Shoulders tired, but spine straight. "Dad, I'm starting to see it." He walked out slower than he entered, not broken, just waking up, and in that quiet moment, I knew the shift had begun. The lie was collapsing. Truth had taken its seat. Now it was only a matter of time. Grief doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like silence, a silence so thick it feels like weather. Daniel needed space, so I gave it to him. But I stayed alert. When you've hunted deception for decades, you learn the most dangerous moment is after exposure, when the cornered fox decides whether to flee or bite. And Lena? She was no exception. 3 days passed. No word from her, not a text, not a call. Even predators retreat to reassess. Then on the 4th evening, around 7:30, headlights rolled slowly up my driveway. Not rushed, not frantic, calculated. I opened the door before she knocked. Lena stood there alone. No parents, real or rented, hair slightly undone, face pale but composed. She wore that same practiced softness, like she'd ironed her emotions before coming. "Thomas," she breathed. "We need to talk." Her tone sounded like apology. Her eyes sounded like strategy. I stepped aside. "Come in." She walked in cautiously, scanning the living room as if expecting Daniel to jump out and defend her. But Daniel wasn't here. Not this time. I had company instead, sitting at my dining table, in a plain jacket, sipping tea like he belonged there. Was Marcus Hill, Department of Homeland Security. Lena froze when she saw him. Her voice dropped, tight and sharp. "Who is he?" "An old colleague," I said. Marcus didn't smile. Men in his job rarely do. "Miss Joe." Her mask cracked. Subtle, but it cracked. "Why is he here?" she demanded, eyes darting toward the door as if calculating escape routes. "This is harassment." "No," I replied. "This is verification." She turned to me, anger flaring under her skin. I recognized the look. People always grow furious when manipulation stops working. "I came here to speak with Daniel," she said, trying to reclaim ground. "He isn't here," I answered. "And he's done listening to lies." Her lips parted, not in hurt but in offense. "I never lied to him," she hissed. "Then why panic when someone capable of verifying the truth walked in?" Marcus calmly reached into his folder. "Miss Joe." She held up her hand like she could command silence. "Don't say my name like you know me." "Oh," Marcus replied, voice neutral. "I know your name." "All of them." That landed. Her breath caught. I watched her carefully. The performance melted. The softness drained. And for the first time she spoke without acting. "You don't know what you're doing," she snapped at me. "I do," I answered. "Protecting my son." Her shoulders tensed. Her jaw clicked. Then came the line I expected, the one all manipulators resort to when the house of cards falls. "You think you won, but Daniel will hate you for this." I didn't flinch. "No, he'll heal because of this." Her laugh was brittle. "You old men think you can ruin me?" Marcus stood and placed a document on the table. She didn't touch it, just stared at it like it might burn her fingers. "Ms. Joe," he said quietly, "we need you to answer some questions regarding identity inconsistencies and prior marital status." Silence, cold, sharp, final. She stared at me like I'd betrayed her, as if loyalty were owed to her. "Deception. You'll regret this," she whispered. "No," I said. "But you already do." She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She ran, like a startled animal realizing the hunter wasn't bluffing. Door slammed. Engine roared. Tires spit gravel as she sped away. Marcus exhaled once. "She knows. That's enough. We'll follow procedure." "Good," I said. The wind chimes on my porch clinked softly, the same sound they made the night I lost my wife. The night I promised to keep our boy safe. I closed the door. War wasn't loud. It was quiet, precise, and this battle had just moved from suspicion to consequence. The day after she ran from my house, the world looked almost normal. Birds at the feeder, neighbors walking their dogs, mail truck rumbling past. Funny how ordinary days can sit right beside life-changing ones without blinking. I brewed coffee like always, sat by the window like always. But the quiet carried a hum, like the calm after artillery stops, when your senses stay alert because your instincts know the war isn't finished yet. Around noon, I heard footsteps on my porch. Not hurried, heavy, familiar. Daniel. He stood there with his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against a winter wind that wasn't really there. I opened the door before he knocked. "Hey, Dad." "Son." He stepped inside slowly. Not angry, not broken, just tired. The exhaustion that comes when your heart finally agrees to see what your mind has been screaming. We sat at the kitchen table, same spots as before. For a long moment, he just stared at his coffee like answers might surface in the steam. "She showed up at my place last night," he finally said. "Of course she did. Manipulators don't retreat, they regroup." "I figured," I replied. "She was crying. Said I abandoned her. Said you poisoned me against her." He rubbed his temples. "She even said you made up everything, that you have issues trusting people since Mom died." Quiet strike. Emotional angle. She'd studied him well. "And what did you say?" I asked. "I asked her one thing." He looked up, eyes steady. "If my father is so wrong, why did you run from the table when you saw another man sitting there?" He let out a breath, shaky but resolute. She didn't answer. She just froze, then told me I'm paranoid and immature. Then she left. There it was. The final mask drop. "What do you feel?" I asked gently. "I feel..." He paused, searching for words. "Like I escaped a falling building." He looked older in that moment. Not aged, but matured. Pain has a way of sanding softness into wisdom. "She used me, didn't she?" "Yes," I said honestly. "But you saw her before she took anything from you. That's not failure, that's survival." He nodded. A slow, heavy acceptance. "I'm angry," he murmured. "You should be. I'm embarrassed." That passes, and I'm grateful. That matters most. Silence settled between us. Not tense, not distant. Resting silence, healing silence. Then he spoke again, voice low. "Did you really understand everything she said that night?" "Yes." "And you were sure?" "I was trained to know the difference between language and intent." He nodded again. Then something unexpected happened. He reached across the table and gripped my hand. "Thank you," he whispered, "for hearing what I couldn't." I squeezed back, the way I used to when he was a kid afraid of thunderstorms. "You learned," I said. "That's all I ever wanted." A single tear slid down his cheek. Not heartbreak anymore, but release. He wiped it quickly, like men do when we forget tears aren't weakness, just proof we're human. We sat a little longer, just breathing. Outside, the wind chimes on the porch rattled softly, not like warning this time, like relief. A chapter had closed, but one final page was left to turn, because truth had surfaced. And now the system would finish what she started. Some endings arrive with explosions. Others arrive with a quiet envelope and a new understanding of the world. 2 weeks passed. Life found a slower rhythm again. Daniel came by on Sundays, helped me stack firewood, even joined me on a fishing trip. First one since his mother passed. He didn't talk about Lena much. Healing sometimes lives in silence, not words. Then one cold Monday morning, a thick government envelope slid through my mail slot. I picked it up, turned it over, saw the seal. Department of Homeland Security. My pulse didn't quicken. I simply set water to boil for tea. Jasmine, the kind my wife used to love. Then sat at the table and opened it methodically. Like every classified briefing I'd ever handled, inside, a formal notice. Visa petition revoked. Case escalated for fraud review. Travel restrictions initiated pending interview. Statement of record confirming she had provided false identity information in prior documents. No dramatic language. No bold red stamps. Just clean bureaucratic precision. Cold justice. The finest kind. I slipped the papers back into the envelope and placed it neatly in my drawer. There was no victory dance. No triumphant music swelling. Just the quiet satisfaction of a path corrected before it could break someone's future. Later that afternoon, Daniel knocked. He carried 2 coffees, one black, one with the exact amount of sugar I prefer. Like he used to bring when he visited after college classes, he set one in front of me and sat down. "For you," he said softly. We didn't need ceremony, just presence. After a moment, he pulled a small folded note from his pocket. "She contacted me," he said. "Sent a long message. Said she was misunderstood. Said you manipulated everything. Asked me to help her." He unfolded the note and pushed it across the table. I didn't need to read it, but I did. Desperation always smells the same. Pleading tone, emotional bait, a final line about destiny and love, as if poetry could erase paperwork. Daniel waited. His face wasn't the face of a wounded son anymore. It was the face of a man who had learned. "I told her not to contact me again," he said. My chest tightened in a quiet, proud ache. Good. He wasn't angry anymore. He wasn't confused. He was steady, the way storms leave air clearer when they're done. "I'm not broken," he whispered. "Just smarter." That's all life ever asks. We sat in comfortable quiet. The wind chimes on the porch tinkled softly, this time sounding like punctuation instead of warning. Before he left, he paused at the door and looked back. "You know," he said, "Mom used to say you could see right through people." I smiled. "I just pay attention," he nodded. "I'm learning to." He closed the door behind him, and the house exhaled, the way homes do when danger has finally passed. I poured the last of my tea, opened my notebook and wrote a single line. Protecting doesn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it means watching the truth land where it belongs. Revenge wasn't the goal. Justice wasn't the trophy. My son was safe. That was enough. And somewhere out there, a woman who believed she could play with people's lives learned the quiet, unshakable truth. You never win against someone who sees through lies for a living, especially when he's a father.